Bring back Splash. That's what they're saying. That is what is trending. Folks are angry. The public is outraged. They do not care for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which is a clearance aisle version of the attraction they once loved. Now that it's out of the hands of the pixie dusters and the general audience knows what has happened, the fury is palpable. Today we're covering it all, folks, and we will not cover up a thing because we believe in the truth. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we endeavor to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve. And it is a joy to do so, a joy that you have elected to join us. An attitude of gratitude for every person who shares their time right here. And apparently Disney is not going to be sharing a lot of time with the average guest when it comes to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. They'd rather ride Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. They'd rather ride Space Mountain. They'd rather ride the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, because it turns out that Tiana's is boring. Perhaps the worst indictment an attraction can have. Today we're talking about it all with a panel you can't miss out on. Hang tight, folks. Here we go. All right, folks, this is an article out of thatparkplace.com. If you're not yet bookmarked, you should be. This is by me. We'll be brief on this one because Caroline Reed dropped the hammer on Bob Iger and Josh D'Amaro and Carmen Smith with the Forbes article. It's time now, folks, for the Tiana's Bayou Adventure Extravaganza. You're about to have much more fun listening about this and listening to this than actually riding the attraction. Here we go. Let's get into it. Look out, Harmonious. Get out of the way, Galactic Star Cruiser. There's a new champion of Disney parks discussed, and its name is Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Despite what you might hear on some other sites or on Disney-approved media outlets, the backlash to the Splash Mountain replacement is here, and it is gargantuan. In fact, I would say it's beyond anything I've ever seen in my years of covering Disney World and Disneyland. It's likely Disney knew they were in very hot water. The company released a POV ride-through on YouTube before any YouTubers and or vloggers had an opportunity to be the first. That might have been an attempt to get ahead of the negative press. It did not work. And gentlemen, one of the funniest things about all of this is that Disney took away the vloggers and bloggers' ability to be the first, to get their stuff out early. Disney beat them by 24 hours. So they gained nothing. They literally gained nothing by shilling for this company. Nothing. The video has been ratioed with dislikes, and the comments on the video are even worse. With the video existing on YouTube where the general public will watch it rather than just heavy dosage Disney fans, i.e., folks, if you thought that Dis Twitter is a real place, or if you thought that pixie dust covered forums represent the vast majority of people, think again. You are in the sensible center. You're in the common sense mainstream. The general public is not responding well to this. The reaction has been overwhelmingly negative in a way that is unprecedented. Even finding a positive comment is difficult. And this is why, guys, I have said that this is unlike anything I've seen before. So we've currently estimated, and we're not, folks, you can go test this out. Later after the show, go to the YouTube video from Disney Parks, their official one. You check us and see if we're wrong, okay? You hold our feet to the fire. We are currently estimating the ratio of positive to negative comments on that Disney Parks video to be 1 to 200 positive to negative. 1 to 200. The 1 is the positive, the 200 is the negative. In fact, I'm here to tell you, it is difficult to find a positive comment on the video. So those who are saying this is a great ride or whatever, they are in the teensiest of tiniest minorities you could possibly find. This has not stopped, however, defenders from attempting to sway public opinion in favor of Disney's new ride. You can see some of those. Meanwhile, it's not just the public reception of the ride that might be going poorly. Despite the attraction being a reskin of Splash Mountain, which was a functional ride, somehow the downtime for the log flume during press and influencer previews has been atrocious. We've had fire alarms. We've had evacuations. Braden of Mickey Views said that of the people he's spoken with, not a single one had been able to ride the ride without being evacuated at least one time.
Oh, my God.
So how's that for you? And then the comments are just, I mean, these comments are amazing. I'll read a few. I agree with Bob Iger. This is really boring. The technology improved, the creativity backpedaled, hard pass. This ride represents everything wrong with modern Disney. This ride might die faster than the Star Wars Hotel. Let's make you big because the bigger you are makes the bigger splash. The party has to be the worst line in the entirety of Disney's history. Now, let's go. And sorry for being long-winded, folks. It's hard to encapsulate what a disaster this is. So let's go to Forbes because, folks, here's the deal. I can tell you that this is a disaster. You can go see the POV ride-through and see it's a disaster. You can read the comments and discover it's a disaster. But for the pixie dusters, those who are either true believers or those who are seekers of the mouse's money, they are not easily swayed by public opinion. But the mainstream media, the legacy coverage, that gets their attention. And Forbes has done it. Caroline Reed, who we adore Caroline today especially, but this is a masterpiece. This is the coup de grace. And I have been told, folks, by a source that Bob Iger has seen the article, that Bob Iger is not happy about the article. And I trust that source. It says Disney spoils its own ride and pays the price. We're about to read this article because it takes Disney down in a way you almost never see out of a mainstream piece. But I want to hand it to the panel first for your takes on Tiana's Bayou Adventure before we go any further.
For me, I will say that I haven't been to Disney World since 2003 when it was still Splash Mountain. I had not even seen Song of the South in full at that point in my life. I've seen it since. I own a copy of it. But I knew Zippity Doo-Dah, and Splash Mountain was great. And I was able to enjoy the ride without having seen the film. So I'm a little confused about how everyone's hating on this ride, but retrofittings are never a good idea. I visited some family over Memorial Day weekend who live in Florida. They've got annual passes to Disney, so they go all the time, and they're hooked on Disney. Disney is, a big part of their existence. But I sat with her. She was in her early 20s, mother of two. And even she said Disney has messed up big time, not necessarily with the theme park, but because they picked a side. Disney picked a side. And I think that's just sort of this going so poorly. A lot of that has to do with just, Disney's fate. Things are just going to continue to go wrong. This has nothing to do with DEI except for maybe the maintenance crews that built this or the creatives that swapped out all the signage and reskinned it. But I don't know. It's going badly, and I'm okay with that. Sorry, Disney.
Chris, you're exactly right. What's interesting about this is, so the lady that you're talking about, she nails this, that Disney picked a side. Mm-hmm. Why this is such a big deal, and some folks might say, well, quit obsessing about a little attraction at a theme park. Here's the deal.
Hey! You just said something very important there. Quit obsessing about a little attraction at a theme park. That's the entire reason that Splash Mountain, quote unquote, had to go away.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, they've embarrassed themselves appropriately so because they try to distance themselves. I mean, how many of us probably know all the lyrics to Zippity Doo-Dah? What a great song. And the movie was not about slavery. It was not racist. Having seen it now with mature eyes, even when I was young enough to have seen the little cartoon snippets and things like that, it's ridiculous. But this is also a company that now puts trigger warnings on Dumbo, trigger warnings on Peter Pan. They are ashamed. The people
they won't
in
let
charge,
kids watch them. They will let kids watch it, Chris. If it's a kid's account, you can't pull up some of those movies anymore.
That is so insane. This is the same people that has drag queens working at their theme parks, though.
Yes.
For all the kids, mustachioed men at Bippity Bop, or whatever the name of the little girl's princess dresses.
I think it's Bippity ridiculous. Flop, I think is what you're trying to say. Bippity Flop.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's an insane asylum. It's a clown show. It's a dumpster fire. And I'm okay with throwing a little more kindling on it. The only way this is going to get purified is when this whole thing falls apart.
How appropriate since the fire alarms are going off.
Maybe so, yeah.
So the reason this is such a big deal is because let's say you put out the Marvels, right? And it's terrible and nobody wants to watch it. And it's a DEI disaster. Okay, it's gone. It's on Disney Plus, but it's gone, right? It leaves the box office. It sits on Disney Plus. Nobody watches it. Nobody cares. We forget. We move on. This will be there for 20 to 30 years. So it's going to be there as a reminder. When we have all moved on from this and there's some new social experiment that we're all, slamming, this will still be there as a reminder of how stupid Disney was for however long. The only exception that I'll make to that is this might be so bad, they might have such scathing responses at the city hall. They might have such horrible reductions in wait time that they have to pull a harmonious, close this back down, spend another $100 million, and make it worthy of riding, because the reaction is just that bad.
Maybe it's going to get the Galactic Star Cruiser treatment.
Well, hopefully no more slush puppy shrimp. That's all I'll ask.
Yeah, but look, we heard months and months ago, after already having our doubts from some of the things that have been said, that Imagineering was creating a whole new position, a big pay position, specifically to combat negative reactions to this attraction. Now,
that's our next topic. Hang on, folks. We'll get to that one. Go ahead, Luke.
Has anybody ever heard of a company introducing a change to a tried and true product and just starting out from the position of, oh, they're all going to hate it, but let's do it anyway?
Yeah.
I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that I ever heard that when Coke made new Coke, they hired somebody in advance to handle the flack.
Somebody whose job was to convince you to like the garbage.
Think about that as a management style, purely business. Never mind whether it's about sex or race or entertainment or widgets. Doesn't that tell you how far off of reality these people are and how in their own little world they are? This thing, when you talk about 20 and 30 years, the big issue is, first of all, their big problem at the parks is not having enough capacity.
Yeah.
And therefore, their reaction is, well, let's close a bunch of stuff because then we'll have even less. And the lines will be longer and the wait times we publish on the website will be longer. And people think, oh, gosh, everybody's going. No, they're not. So let's take what is acclaimed as the most popular ride in the world. And by the way, it isn't my favorite of them all, not even Splash. But, and let's close it down for what, 3, 4, 5 years in order to change it in a way that even if you go on it and say, well, it's not as terrible as everybody says, you've now done it. It's a one and done from everything I've seen. Then you can get into all the specifics of what's wrong with it. All of that dead air time between the few moments where anything is happening, okay? All of the signs instead of things happening, all of the lack of anything going on like a story. Vash, who has inside information, tells us there have been 3 or 4 stories that have been followed and then taken out and followed and then taken out. And
that's, by the way, Lou, that's why we have a finale song about you being the secret spice, and the ride isn't about spice, and it makes no sense. Well, this is how we arrive at this.
There are, as we've said before, there are no mountains in Louisiana. There are no salt mines of that kind. By the way, we found out that the biggest salt processing place in Louisiana doesn't make food salt. They make road salt for Midwestern winters. Fact. Statistical fact. So, and then that business with all with the dancing okra stalks. I said they should have called this ride "Don't Listen to the Land," because it's basically the Epcot Pavilion, only done like the illustrations were done for the backdrops at the Publix produce section. You and I were joking, Pro, about will they do an Okra 1 and Okra 2 shirt like the Thing 1 and Thing 2 shirts at the Dr. Seuss stuff at Islands of Adventure. The parts that really, really offend me, however, are 2. First, they've got a sign that says Walt's opening benediction when Disneyland first opened. To all who come to this happy place, welcome. The idea that they think they can throw that in like it's a random accessory that'll say, okay, you Disney people, you pixie dusters, you people who remember the way it was, there you go. we did something for you. Now don't bother us anymore. With something that, for lack of a better term, sacred to the entire concept of what Disney did with theme parks is pretty rank, pretty cheap. And secondly, the music. We saw all these videos about them going to New Orleans over and over again and eating at Dookie Chase's and gathering the jazz of there's no New Orleans jazz in this thing.
Right.
There's
None of
none.
that came. None of that. That was all a bunch of nonsense.
And especially if the plot is about we got to get people for the band.
Musicians. Yeah.
Where did you go to get them? Havana? You know, I mean,
Right.
It just.
Let's articulate that a little bit more, if you don't
Okay.
mind. It's supposed to be set in 1920s, maybe 1930s, New Orleans. And when you get shrunk down to the size of a frog, it plays a new version of Dig a Little Deeper that's supposed to be getting everybody hopping and, clapping along. This is the exact words of Imagineering. They want people clapping along all the way to the top of the lift hill and then diving down. Afro-Cuban is not a 1930s New Orleans thing. It's also, I guess it's technically jazz, but it's very much a Cuban thing more than it's a.
As
New
I said
Orleans
to
thing.
Lorena, this is the whitest black music I've ever heard.
And we have come to the end yet again of another video of pure, unfiltered excellence, ladies and gentlemen. No bromine necessary. We hope you had a great time. If you did, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe. Click it, stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell, and drop a comment right on down below. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not yours. Join a community dialogue on the subject. And folks, we will see you real soon. Don't forget to subscribe to our sister channels, At That Park Place and At That Pod Place, right here on YouTube. Yes, you heard that right, At That Pod Place. Not pod people, podcasts. See, it's clever. Oh, good. Anyway, we'll see you soon, folks. Keep learning, keep growing. And as always, keep having fun.